and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, great news, so am I. I have recently jumped back on YouTube after about a 3-year sabbatical from this platform, and I am currently in the process of recapping 3 months of traveling the world. And if you're sitting there wondering what I'm all about, I am quite literally just a 26-year-old girly who enjoys sharing her experiences online, from travel, dating, career, and everything in between, but in a way that is relatable enough so that you watching feel less alone in your everyday life as well. In today's vlog, I'm going to be recapping my very first group trip experience where I was the host. This past year, I was reached out to by a company called TrovaTrip. They essentially enable creators to host trips for their communities. I had no idea what to expect. I had never done this before, but I love traveling, love meeting new people, so I thought, why the heck not? Seems like an awesome opportunity, let's do it. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you from day 1 all the way through to day 7 of our group trip in Bali. And at the end of this video, I'm actually gonna jump back on here and do a very well-rounded review of my experience working with TrovaTrip, some recommendations I would have for you as a traveler or a host, and lastly, some things that I learned as a host from my very first group trip experience. On that note, let's play it back to August 26, 2024 in Bali. Good morning, everyone. Today marks day 1 of my group trip in Bali. There's about 8 of us here. Today we are going to the Sacred Monkey Forest, followed by the Ubud Market. Then we're going to add an extra activity. I think we're going to go ATVing or whitewater rafting. Stay tuned for what we end up doing. This is such a beautiful resort. It honestly exceeded my expectations as soon as I walked in. It is so beautiful. The food is delicious, and I cannot wait for this week. So let's start day 1. Ready?
If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name. If you come around here, I'll make them all day. I get one down in a second if you wait. I fly like paper, get high like planes. If you catch me at the border, I got visas in my name. If you come around here, I'll make them all day. I get one down in a second if you wait. Sometimes I think sitting on trains. Every step I get to, I'm clocking that game. Everyone's a winner, we're making our fame. Bonafide hustler, making my name. Sometimes I think sitting on trains. Every step I get to, I'm clocking that game. Everyone's a winner, we're making our fame. Bonafide hustler, making my name. All I wanna do is take your money. All I wanna do is take your money. All I wanna do is take your money. MIA, third world democracy. Yeah, I got more records than the KGB. So no funny business. You already are.
What do we do in Bali Street?
When you're in Bali, you buy dicks.
I thought I would jump in here and do a little voiceover for day 2. This day was all about the water. We started off strong at the Canto Lampo waterfall, where right away we met the famous TikTok guys. If you've never heard of them, they're basically the geniuses behind all the crazy photos and videos you see from this waterfall. I'm convinced no one works as hard as these guys. Our next stop was the Tirta and Pool water purification ceremony, where after we picked out our favorite sarongs to explore the temple, we got dressed up for the ceremony. Iman, our guide, explained that because this ceremony has become so popular among tourists, the locals actually opt to go at night when there are less tourists. And if you're thinking, of course tourism has ruined a part of authentic Balinese culture, our guide then explained that the locals actually appreciate how much the tourism's brought in to help maintain and give back to the temple. I do wish there was a little more background and direction on what these fountains were all about. As you can see, I was a little bit lost. Our guide then took us to a little section behind the temple, which felt very exclusive. The monks were actually hanging out back there, so we got to see more of the local and authentic part of that temple, which was very cool, which is a major reason why we loved having the guide. Our last stop of the day was this absolutely iconic location, the Bali Big Swing. These photos also turned out amazing thanks to the locals helping us out. Me again. I wanted to pop in here and mention that you'll realize I don't actually have a lot of evening footage, like post sundown, dinners, nightlife, that kind of thing. That was absolutely not intentional. We actually had dinner as a group pretty much every night. It was only when I was editing this vlog I realized, oh, I have no evening footage because I was charging this camera because I was so new to vlogging. I didn't have like a system yet. Anyway, but on that topic, I want to speak to the evenings. So TrovaTrip hadn't actually planned anything for the evening portion of the trip. Now, as a host for my first time, I thought, you know what, we're all adults, we'll probably appreciate some downtime. I also met with the group earlier. I said we have nothing planned at night, but like, let's just play it by ear when we get there. We'll just, you know, spontaneous in the moment, go somewhere, do something. And it was only at the end of the trip when I had some travelers give me feedback. They said they wish there was more planned at night. So this was probably the #1 piece of feedback that I took was, as the host, make sure to have things planned every single night, even if not everybody wants to do them, right? A lot of different people had different appetites for the level of activity that we were doing and the amount of time we were spending together. So I just wanted to leave the evenings open, but in the future, I always want to make sure I have an option to go to this #1 nightclub, an option to go, you know, do something as a group at night, and then the travelers can choose whether or not they want to go. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. That's why you don't see a lot of night footage, mainly because I was charging my camera, but also because there wasn't too much happening in the evenings to begin with. So noted for next trip. For day 3 on this trip, I didn't want to actually add any text or voiceover to this part of the video. I just think the raw footage on its own is so cute and wholesome, and it really speaks to the authentic video style that I'm going for. So let's run it back.
Yeah, okay, so nice to meet you. And let me to assist you for your activity for today.
Thank you.
Okay, we're famous because our first kid name, not our real name.
See, I think one does it in the distance, the other one's... Did you pick all of... Is this from today, the flowers?
It's called ceper. This is made from the young coconut leaf like this.
Am I supposed to have 2?
No.
Looks like yours should be in there.
After that, we stick it like this.
Wow, very good.
Yeah, not the other leaf, but that's not wrong. So, we don't have, yeah? We have a small eyes, that means focus.
Yes, I would do one more.
One more.
Yeah, I hope. Get it. So we're all Heroes sous chefs currently.
Sick. Teamwork, yeah? Side. And then after that, we break. Okay? After we push. You do like this.
Sorry. Oh my god. It's literally so cute. Oh my god, the boy. Is this hot for Bali?
Oh, what's up, buddy?
There's cows everywhere.
Big move. Okay.
I think I'm good.
Ah.
Whoa. Hey, little guy. Oh!
What's going on, Newman Nation? We are back in Canggu. The Bintangs. Been tanking too much money out of my wallet. No? You didn't like that?
No.
Have to get out?
That was so bad.
I'm a YouTuber.
No. Anyway, good morning everyone. We are in fact in Canggu. I have completely forgotten to update you guys every day on here, but I thought I would give a quick little recap of the first half of the trip. Something I've always taken pride in with my platforms is giving both sides to the story. When people say like, oh, so you're an influencer. I don't know why, but there just feels like there's a negative connotation to it. We want to like share this glamorized view of life, and we want to influence like the products that we're using that make our life so beautiful. But I think there's also a side to influencing where you want to share almost the cons and what you don't love about certain products and what you don't love about certain experiences and services, so that you have like a balanced view of everything. I really like to be a very well-rounded creator, so let's get into it. Let's start with Ubud. Ubud, tomato. Let me know in the comments which version you use. I've heard so much about this place, and I picked this location because there was a lot to do. How TrovaTrip works is they like set you up with operators that are in certain countries around the world, and they have like an itinerary that they believe a lot of tourists would like. So I was really blown away by the accommodation. It felt like we were really surrounded by jungle. We were walking distance from a lot of shops, but we felt like we had our own secluded area, which I loved. Ubud itself was so busy. People everywhere. Our tour guide would say we have to leave at 8 a.m. in order to get there to actually enjoy the place that we're at, because there are so many people lining the streets. You really have to budget a lot of your time in Ubud to sitting in many hours of traffic. What I loved about our time in Ubud was the variety of activities that were offered. It gave a lot of opportunity to learn about history and culture. However, not everyone from our group really wanted to do those things, so it was hard to manage, you know, people going to different things at different times. And also, if I can be totally honest, I wish that there were some other activities that were included during the week, such as like we went on an ATV and rafting adventure that wasn't affiliated with TrovaTrip, but I do think we could have fit it in. These are just things that I'm reflecting on. It was also interesting to hear what my group wanted to do, so that when and if I host a group trip in the future, I'll know kind of how to build the week around what people want to do. A lot of people are only here for the week, so they want to like cram as much as possible. So that's why I went to the ATV adventure and the big swing. Anyways, that is my quick review of the first half of the week. We are now in Canggu. It is so relaxing here. It's so beautiful. There's beaches, there's surfing. Our resort is amazing. Oh, that's one more thing I wanted to say as a piece of feedback towards the TrovaTrip. I have been blown away by the accommodation. I've loved the first one. The second one is stunning. They're always 4-star resorts, so I have no complaints about the actual accommodation. But we are in Canggu. We're going to do some laundry because we're in desperate need of doing laundry. And then we're going to hit the beach pretty much all day. And the only thing we have on the itinerary tonight is a sunset at Tanala. And that last clip at the Tanala sunset is actually the last clip I had of the entire trip. I searched all my SD cards, but there was no more footage. Why? Because on the last day of the trip, I unfortunately got so sick. Like, I have not been this ill in a very long time. It unfortunately is pretty common in Bali to experience stomach issues. The food and the way it's prepared can be very different from Western cooking, so I unfortunately had to deal with that on the last day. I thought it would be okay, but by the time dinner arrived, I was truly, maybe TMI, but I was projectile vomiting everywhere, including at the restaurant. It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing, you guys, and I truly to this day wish it could have been different. I wish that it even held off for like one more day, because we were at this nightclub, we were at this beach club for dinner, we were dancing. I was trying to like muster up the energy to do anything at all, but my stomach, such brutal timing, and I had to actually go home. I was so ill, I could not keep up with the group. To this day, I'm trying not to let it get to me, but I just wish I could have really been there for the group on that night. But I've been trying to let it go, because as I watch this footage, I remember that we actually had a really fantastic week. We made like 8 new friends that week, all experiencing a different country together. It just warmed my heart, and to interact with the tour guide who was so knowledgeable about Bali, and he loved being there with us. Like, there was a lot of really beautiful moments, so I have to just let go of sick last day and appreciate healthy and exciting 6 days prior. Okay, now for a super quick review of what it was like working with TrovaTrip. Short answer, would not recommend. As a host or a traveler, they were simply very difficult to work with. I didn't love a lot of their policies around cancellations and refunds and when you book versus when the trip is actually confirmed to go. They were just hard to work with, and it made the process of leading up to the trip a lot more challenging than I think it needed to be. Again, I did my very best. This was my very first group trip ever. I still think it went really well, but just the experience, like looking back, I remember I lost so much weight. I stopped eating. I was so stressed for like 3 months before the trip was even happening. I would not recommend it. I think there's a lot of group trip companies out there who will actually support you throughout the process and make it just easier. I don't know what else to say. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, I will also make a point to plan more activities throughout the week, whether it's in the evenings or just whenever there's a hole in the itinerary, I again, as my first time as a host, I did a pulse check to see like, what do you guys want to do? A lot of people wanted to just like chill by the pool or take a nap or chill out, but I own this mistake that I should have planned more things throughout the week. And I think a part of that is actually going to the country, going to the city before the group arrives and getting a feel for the area, having some recommendations of where to go for dinner, for drinks. Like that was just something that I truly, genuinely did not think about until I actually got to Bali, the week happened, and the group gave me that feedback after. Like you guys, there's just some things that you don't realize you need to do when you host 8 adults in a country, and that was one of them. But again, you know, working with a company, I would have hoped they gave me like a list or something of places to go that other group trips have gone to and really loved. Like that was the host support that I just didn't feel was there when I was trying to manage a bajillion things it felt like the week of. And my final note on Bali is that, especially any travelers who were with me that week, if you're watching, I just wanna let everyone know that even though the TrovaTrip experience was not everything we were wanting and more, maybe as a host I could have done a better job, but I still look back on this footage and it warms my heart. We all were strangers, we all met on the internet and came together as a group, and I remember hearing a lot of the travelers say to me after, like, Brie, I wouldn't have done this trip, I wouldn't have done half the things I did this week. I wouldn't have stepped out of my comfort zone like this, and that's all because of you and the fact that this trip happened. And those comments like really warmed my heart and reminded me that we're human, not everything can be perfect, but we all got to experience a pretty bucket list trip, and I'm just so grateful for that. So that's why I will be hosting more trips in the future. I can't announce the next one yet. It is currently in the process of coming to fruition in the next like 3 to 4 days, but just know that it's actually going to be a smaller group size. That was a #1 takeaway as a host, was I want a smaller group to work with. This company I'm talking to, it's not TrovaTrip, a new company actually specializes in this 4 to 8 group size, which is feeling a lot better for me. So stay tuned on my Instagram, TikTok, and on here for updates on my next group trip. On that note, I hope you loved coming on this virtual recap of the group trip in Bali that I hosted this year. After this trip, I actually stayed in Bali for a couple more weeks, so my next vlog is actually gonna be a recap of my time in the Gili Islands with a friend, specifically this little island called Gili Air. It truly might have been one of my favorite places on earth. So that'll be my next vlog. Stay tuned. I am so excited to share that one. It is so zen, so peaceful. We had a ton of fun. On that note, I love you. I am here for you, and I will see you next time. Bye.